ain't sure why I'm doing that. There we go.
Morning, everyone. Making sure all the devices are silent.
Right, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Welcome to our September 19th special meeting at 9 a.m. I will call this meeting to order at 9:01 a.m. And roll call when ready, please.
Goss here, Bennett. Here. Glenn.
Here.
Valmont. Here. Pat.
Here. Looks like there's 11 on Zoom. There's a question of whether or not we have our audio muted. Derek, I see you're on. Can you hear us this morning?
Yes, I can.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Couple of online things, getting them out of the way. Okay, so any changes or adjustments to the agenda? Yeah. Okay, any conflict of interest here this morning? Hearing none. Move into public comment. Anyone in Zoom land wishing to make a public comment, please use the raise your hand function and we'll come back to you momentarily. In the meantime, is there anyone here in Township Hall that would like to make a public comment? Please make your way to the podium and tell us what you're thinking.
Yes, my name is Joseph Claskins. I live on Russell Ridge Road in Williamsburg. I attended the August 24th meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and two things struck me. The first was that the developers complained about the fact that not being granted the variance would cost them an enormous amount of money. I think we have to keep in mind the fact that what they're talking about is the profit they hope to make, not actual money that they have expended. So this is money lost in their hopes, their dreams. If the variance were not granted, they could turn around and sell the raw land back and recoup most, if not all of the money they spent. The alternative, of course, is to reconfigure their plan so that it met local rules and regulations. In that case, they would still make a profit, not the obscene profit they hope to make. So I don't think they're deserving of any sympathy in that regard. My second observation was that on August 24th, this room was packed, standing room only. I was squeezed against the back wall. The persons in attendance, all residents, voters, almost unanimously were against this project. And yet the board voted on behalf of the developers. I can't understand that, because presumably the board should have as its primary interest the views of existing residents, not the profit of carpetbaggers who blow in for a short period of time, make money, and leave. So I must say that I was stunned by the initial decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Deborah Gale. My husband is Jeff. We were at the township meeting on August 24th, and we are directly affected by this parcel. We live on the western edge of the subject parcel. So we attended the Zoom meeting, and we have some concerns about the way that the ZBA kind of arrived at that the decision, despite legal advice that was provided ahead of time by the township's attorneys. We're concerned about the logic and the guidance frequently used by the ZBA during their deliberations. The phrase, if and of itself, does the variance granting criteria, if this logic was applied to the variance granting criteria and when it was not. When it was not, we question if both sides of the argument were fairly treated. Overall, in summary, we see inconsistencies in the legal advice offered to the township regarding the land division ordinance criteria versus the variance granting criteria. Why do we have relaxed criteria to grant a variance when to create the parcel cites more stringent criteria? In assessing the variance, the ZBA stepped through the standards, often qualifying their debate by injecting the clause in and of itself. Does it or does it not create or violate the conditions set forth by the standard? For example, the third standard references adverse impact on surrounding property. The ZBA said that granting the variance in and of itself did not cause any adverse effects. Subject parcel and all surrounding parcels will remain unchanged if the variance is granted. They said any plans for the subject parcel were not under debate in assessing the request for the variance. Similarly, in assessing the fourth standard concerning health, safety, general welfare of the area, in and of itself, they use that again to conclude that granting the variance will not cause any change. Again, they did not consider any future plans for the property in making this determination. In the second standard, the question of unreasonable burden on the side of the developers, they did not apply the same in and of itself logic. I'm going to say it again. They did not apply the same logic to the developers on the question of unreasonable burden. They unfairly considered an economic hardship argument on the part of the applicant. Specifically, the applicant would suffer unreasonable harm if they were unable to develop this property. We believe that the cases that were cited ahead of time by the attorney that was hired by the township support our decision that the intended parcel use must be used to render a variance decision. We believe that the ZBA would have found reason and evidence to deny the variance request based on intended use, and that the applicant provided no proof to refute the adverse impact standard. If the ZBA can stipulate a non-buildable parcel is now buildable by variance, but can't or won't make that determination based on criteria only truly accessible once a plan for the property is formally presented, then the only variance process that follows logically occurs at the time when land use is considered during permitting, pulling of permits, etc. How can these decisions be made when the criteria used to decide on a variance excludes relevant claims for injury and adverse impact? Why have we had these public meetings and listened to the public statements from the community if these are not to be considered in this process? That doesn't ring true. We argue the ZBA's actions have no logical place, were not determined in line with township ordinances, not in keeping with legal advice by the township's attorneys, and not consistent and supported by the evidence presented. Grounds for appeal of this decision to the circuit court seem numerous at this time. Thank you.
Good morning, Connie Highmore, Baggs Road. I'm not going to stand up here and argue the fact that any parcel means all, unlike the attorney's attempt to confuse that fact to the ZBA. In Whitewater Township, all parcels must adhere to the 4:1 depth to width ratio, no matter the acreage. I'm not going to stand up here and argue if the zoning administrator made an error in the division of 6631 Baggs Road, although numerous after the fact attempts have been made. He admits to it, and that's good enough for us. Bottom line, no supporting documentation for his decision exists. I'm not going to stand up here and praise the township board for following the township laws when you deemed 6631 Baggs Road not buildable. You were doing your job, and we thank you for that. I'm not going to stand up here and ask why the appeal was sent to the ZBA, which is strictly prohibited per General Ordinance 26. This has been asked so many times over the last month, and no one will answer why it was sent. I'm not going to stand up here and argue all the things that were wrong with the ZBA meeting, from silencing the public, social media ex parte communication, to township board interference. Officials with much more authority are reviewing it as we speak, and they will address that. What I am going to talk about is the topic at hand, an attempt to discredit the township board's decision to follow the township laws. A 9-month process involving numerous meetings and thousands of taxpayer dollars. All of your findings of fact remain true. The attempts by the developer to negate them are all based on the improper decision of the ZBA. Read the developer's attempts to refute the board's findings of fact. All of them use the ZBA's decision as a reason, a decision they were not authorized to make. A ZBA cannot hear appeals of property not in conformance with General Ordinance 26 per Section 9. The Township Board was in error when allowing this to go to the ZBA. The Township Board's findings of fact remain true. The Township Board's decision remains as written and in force. If a motion is required, and I'm not sure one is needed, I agree with the board member. Possible motion language that was written in your packet. Motion to declare the decision of Whitewater Township Board made on June 20th, 2023 to send this appeal for variance to the ZBA was in error. The parcel number 28-13-136-001-02 cannot be sent to the Zoning Board of Appeals for variance relief per General Ordinance 26. Any decision by the ZBA is null and void. The Whitewater Township Board decision on May 3rd, 2023 remains intact. The subject property remains non-compliant with the Whitewater Township ordinances. Please stop making error after error. Follow the township laws and stick to your decision. We thank you for that.
Karen Boyd, 6303 Baggs Road. I know another Baggs Road person, a bully, as we've been titled. I don't understand how we're bullies when we're trying to speak our opinion about what surrounds us. We've bought what we've bought because we enjoy the country, we enjoy the view. All the acres surrounding this parcel are basically 5 to 10 acres, I believe. Across the street, there's much more than that, which is where we live. The attorney made a comment that they want to move up here, or not the attorney, I'm sorry, the developer wants to move up here because it's beautiful. Then why are you trying to make it look like where you live? And putting a subdivision in here. I'm not quite sure how farming land, agricultural land got changed to 1 acre. Do we want all of our agricultural property built up to look like Traverse City, Grand Rapids, Detroit? At the meeting, I was at the meeting, and the ZBA had many letters from the township residents. He said they were 50-50 on the attitude of the township. We asked him to read them. It wasn't 50-50. There was more opposed than there were in favor. This is your township. This is the residents, the people that live here that are speaking. I understand they own the property, but you would think that they would kind of want to listen to what people are saying. if it were 5-acre parcels that they wanted to build, that would be great. It would flow with the land. You've got people up on the hill that bought their property to hunt, to farm, and you're going to put 22 homes in the middle of all that? Whitewater Township wants their property to flow. That's not flow. That's noise. What I understand, and I'm not a professional at zoning, but when that was divided, that should have been, the variance should have been placed then, not 2 years later. The zoning administrator knew he did wrong, and I believe, I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but what I believe is he thought it would just get brushed under the rug. We've opposed this from the beginning. And then when Connie and Frank found a loophole, found that it was divided illegally. That should tell us something right there. This is not meant to be here.
Good morning, Vicky Beam. I live on Bags Road. Again, I guess I'm part of the Bags Road group. I'm certainly not bullies. Echo what has been said very eloquently. Really was said during the evening of the ZBA meeting. I hope all of you have taken the time to read or to watch that if you weren't in attendance. It was quite the meeting. There are so many things to cover, but the bottom line, the findings of fact that led you to deem this property unbuildable has not changed. If you in fact vote to rescind that today, as is being proposed from the zoning administrator, who truly, in my opinion, has a conflict of interest due to the fact that he could face fees, fines, and jail time, then you are letting us know we can't trust any of you. The zoning administrator made a mistake. It is recorded, regardless of how many comments have been made at the last board meeting and other outreach communication, that he has not come back to say that he made a mistake, that he didn't make a mistake. Sorry about that. We have retained an attorney and are in the process of filing with the court as aggrieved parties. Upon reviewing the ZBA meeting, their findings of fact were heading to a no vote against the requested variance, which again, should never have even been in that position. Yet the township attorney and attorney for the developer managed to confuse and lead them in a different direction. The ZBA was supposed to be the body that made the decision. As already mentioned, they ignored a lot of the public comments. We forced them to read them, essentially silencing the public. And it was the attorneys that led the meeting. I thought it was a ZBA meeting, not an attorney's meeting. They are not appointed officials of this township. It is still quite questionable if the ZBA even has the authority to consider the variance, as already mentioned, requested to begin with. You will hear comments today about a lot of items. What you should be most concerned about, the packet provided to the ZBA with all of the supporting documents to say a variance from the 4-1 was substantiated, was way after the fact of the zoning administrator initially approving this. Della Bennett, who was the former board rep for ZBA and quit, and there hasn't been a board representative since then, actually had handwritten notes in that packet about past requests. I'm not sure if that was legal. We'll find out. Ex parte has been thrown around a lot lately. Wasn't she actually leading them to a decision? You as elected board members are supposed to be representing the entire township. Yet a couple of you are letting your personal opinions and beliefs override listening to your public, especially when it comes to the lake people or Bags Road people. We are all residents. I really hope you as elected officials are aware of our general ordinance 26 that states that any property must be a maximum of 4-1. It is amazing how much after the fact documentation, as mentioned, the zoning administrator has come up with to save his butt. The zoning administrator should have stated his conflict of interest at the ZBA meeting. If they had voted as they should have, he could be facing charges. Della Bennett used Facebook prior to the ZBA meeting to get her thoughts out there and actually attacked a resident. Can you know for certain that no ZBA member saw her comments? I believe this is the true definition of ex parte. You voted to deem this property unbuildable. as you should have per our General Ordinance 26. As I started with, nothing has changed except for the craziness of a ZBA meeting that really should never have happened. Those of you that have been most vocal for this to go through are also the biggest cheerleaders for the zoning administrator. He is a nice man, but the fact is a major mistake was made. The property is not buildable. I was driving here and kind of came up with this thought as well. You know, in a lot of ways, this thing really has turned personal. We have had members of the board that are actually attacking us, as I've mentioned, because we've stood up for our township and have asked for you to support the ordinances. Do what is right. If you don't enforce this ordinance, what does that mean for all the others? Thank you.
Anyone else in Township Hall?
Good morning, Kim Elliott, Williamsburg resident. I couldn't have said it any better than my previous commenters. I just asked that we follow the rules. As I previously said in public comment, rules are rules. You might not like them, but they're the rules. So if we're not, like we said, we're not going to follow these rules. What rules are we not going to follow or follow? To me, it's pretty simple. And some people have done a lot of research here, and I've read the ordinance as well. And I agree, we have to follow the ordinances. You might not like it, but it's what our rules are at the time. I think they should be followed. Thank you.
Anyone else here in Township Hall? All right, good morning, Michael. I see your hand is up. How are you this morning?
I am doing well. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate the board's time and effort on this matter. I did send in some comments about going into a public session or a closed session. I thought I'd articulate it just again real quickly to make sure that I think that given what I've been hearing, even in the public comments today, I think it's important for everybody to see and understand this process. There is a lot of discussion that's going on, but I think a lot of it gets confused with what the end result will be when it comes to the property. But today, for today's board meeting and today's discussion, I think it's pretty clear that all we're doing is taking the ZBA decision that was made. It's a final decision. It goes back to the board, and all we're doing is implementing that to reflect the fact that the property is now buildable per the ZBA granting of the variance. So a lot of what's going on when it comes to like what's going to be built on there and reflecting the community and whatnot, I hope we can all just kind of focus on today is the board just putting in the ZBA's decision. It's either maybe it might be a possibility that the board is going to try and delay the decision, or if they would try and subvert the decision of the ZBA. These are all very, very important things to know and hear and see in a public meeting. And with this being somewhat of a procedural matter, it would be kind of, well, it would be hard for me to look at it and say, well, what would need to be attorney-client privilege that would get you into a private meeting? Because ultimately this needs to be seen. This needs to be shown as to what your decision is and how you're coming to the process. And then not only for our side, there's the other community members that would like to know what is going on with this. And I thank you so much for staying in a public meeting for this process. Thank you.
Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning, and thank you for taking the time on this matter for another round. Appreciate, again, all the energy and time it's gone into this. I said on the 24th, time is our most valuable asset, and you spending it to get this right makes a lot of sense. Again, I welcome all of the comment from all of our fellow community members. And in fact, the woman who mentioned 5-acre parcels would be great on our property. You just heard the comment as well. this isn't about what the plans are going forward. And we're willing to listen, we're willing to work with the community members, but keep in mind what we're talking about here. If that's something that would be, what the community wants and needs, great. We'll talk about that at the planning session, and we would look forward to everyone showing up to give us some direction as to what you would appreciate in the community. But today, we're really just picking up on something that's part of the Michigan legislature, quite frankly. In 2006, there's a Michigan Zoning Enabling Act that basically bestows a tremendous amount of power in the ZBA. The Zoning Board of Appeals, they are there as the structural as part of the structural hierarchy to making sure that municipalities operate with some structure and just cadence that would be consistent, eliminating a lot of loopholes and weaknesses, blind spots, things like that that could open up to liability down the road. So again, whatever the plan is for this property is irrelevant at this juncture. That's not what we're talking about today. So again, we just want to watch the ZBA's decision flow through as it should in the proper channels. And again, we're here today to see that happens. So again, thank you for your time, and we look forward to the right decision coming out of this.
Can I have them identify who they are? I need to hear Ryan on.
Sure. Good morning, Derek.
Good morning, Ron, and fellow board members and the community. It's hard to imagine this has already been 2 years since we started our due diligence process on our parcel, and about 19 months since we actually purchased the property. And I can speak for all of us, including our neighbors. It's been an exhaustive and stressful period, really on both sides. And our hope today, like my partner Ryan said, is that ultimately the board will confirm the ZBA's granted variance and fully restore our private property rights by making a motion to rescind the motion that was made on May 3. Now, it's strictly a procedural thing at this particular point. And again, that Zoning Enabling Act says the decision is final. The decision of the Zoning Board of Appeals shall be final. A party aggrieved by the decision may appeal to the circuit court for the county in which the property is located. So, again, the neighbors do have the option of going that route, but, the ZBA decision is final. And so I would just ask that the board, try to refrain from opinion and bias and just vote on the facts. Your vote today is not about what could be built on our parcel, but that in fact, our parcel is buildable. Any site condo, single family home is irrelevant to the buildable or unbuildable status today. However, I'm going to briefly touch on the site condo since it does seem to impact the decision making. And a lot of what has been talked about in public comment today and over the last 18 months is really surrounding those single family homes through the site condo. And so, there's been much discussion and concern over the last 2 years about a site condo project, from what will happen to our trees, again, our trees on our property, to the wildlife, to even a concern of what the field mice will do if we build on our parcel. Now, I don't know what the concern was for the field mice when our neighbors built their homes, but I can tell you, I'm not so much concerned about them. But what I will say is that we do agree with the neighbors that we want to keep as much of the tree line as possible. We want to see the deer. We want to see the bald eagles. That's such a, great thing about the parcel that we have. And so the original rendition that we had put in back in 2022 was just what we could do on the property. But after we had gotten that and kind of heard public comment, we've already made other renditions to what we would do on a site condo. But we can't even bring that to the planning committee for discussion because we're stuck at this point. And so, we would just ask that you keep that in mind that, again, we're willing to talk to the neighbors. We're willing to listen to their input. we may not agree on everything, but we're certainly open to listen and to trying to see if there's you know, a way for us both to, you know, come out of this, you know, where we, you know, maybe both don't feel like winners, but both don't feel like losers. You know, and so, you know, by no means was that version that we presented with 22 homes where we basically went in and took out all the trees. That isn't going to happen. So, you know, for those neighbors that are concerned about that, our goal is to keep as many trees as we possibly can, and even to put in some of the bylaws that there's a no cut area. So if somebody did purchase a parcel back there, that they would not be able to cut down you know, those trees. So I just wanted to touch on that because I know that's such a big part of it, and I know I have a few minutes, so I'll try to be really quick here to finish up. You know, there's a lot of, you know, concern over the rural character and, you know, and traffic and density and things like that. I know when the neighbors moved in, they weren't worried about what they were doing to add traffic, but again, I don't know why we're being targeted so aggressively, but it is what it is. Now, the Whitewater Township mission statement states that it will strive to maintain the rural character of our community, to enhance our quality of life, and to utilize our tax dollars in a fiscally sound manner. In Whitewater Township, there's 47.8 square miles of land. That equals 30,592 acres of land. Our parcel is 30 acres, which is less than 1/10 of 1% of the land making up Whitewater Township. I'm having a really hard time understanding how making this parcel buildable and what we choose to build on the parcel changes the rural character of the community when it is on a parcel that is 1/10 of 1%. 0.00098. Extremely small. In my opinion, 1/10 of 1% is very small. Now, there's an estimated 2,700 people who reside in Whitewater Township. If we were to build a site condo, we're talking about adding approximately 30 to 50 people to the population in the community over time. That's a 1% change to the total population over time. 1%, 1/10 of 1%. I really don't see how that small of a change would be changing the rural character of Whitewater Township. And if it does, I would really love to hear that in your discussion today. But again, making the motion to rescind the board's motion on May 3 is the last step in restoring our private property rights. Michigan legislature states that the concurring vote of a majority of the members of the Zoning Board of Appeals is necessary to reverse an order, requirement, decision, or determination of the administrative office, official, or body. And so, again, we would just ask that you know, you do make the motion to rescind and fully restore those personal property rights. And again, thank you for your time and attention to this matter. We really appreciate it, and you know, look forward to being a valued part of this community.
Thank you.
And I guess one last thing is, you know,
Chris.
Ron, can I just quick say one more thing? You know.
Good morning, Chris.
Yes, Chris Modrak,
Hey, Ron,
Skigamon.
I wasn't finished. Can I finish with just one more thing? It'll take 15 seconds.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate it. The last thing is making this parcel buildable again. Even if we decided to just sell the land as is, to just get out of it, if that's an option, or if the neighbors wanted to buy it, keeping the parcel as unbuildable locks us into, it's not marketable. The raw land is not marketable, like the first person said today, that we wouldn't get our money back, or we would. When we have an unbuildable parcel, it's not marketable. We're losing 80 to 90% of the value in it being a buildable parcel or not. And so that's where we would need it. So again, thanks for the extra time. I appreciate it.
Chris, I apologize.
No problem. My name's Chris Modrak, Skegamog Point Road, and I'm understanding better at this point that this meeting is procedural. But let me just say that I'm thinking I represent most or all of the citizens who were unable to attend the last meeting because of the Zoom link was faulty or problematical. But like that live audience of citizens, we were trying to attend to speak with our fellow citizens about our deep concerns about this issue. So let me just be a voice and reminder of every one of those of us who were unable to attend, who cared very deeply about the outcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning, Michelle.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Good morning. I am the person that Miss Della attacked on Facebook. I just wanted to kind of throw my name in the hat and let you guys know that we're here. I'm the one that's going around to inform our community of these meetings. I think it's important that our community voice is heard, because the amount of people that we had at the board meeting on the 24th, I think there was 85, if I'm not mistaken, of in-person as well as Zoom meeting. And those are not including the ones that turned away, that couldn't get into the parking lot and find a spot. There was standing room only. I believe that, if I'm mistaken, I think that's your biggest meeting to date. Am I correct in thinking that? I'm also wanting to make sure that you are heard from my side on the importance of the safety issue that I have. Ron, I have expressed to Ron, Pop specifically, about my issue with our bus stop, that my daughter's near-death experience of being almost ran over by a car going 45 miles an hour that passed the stopped bus on the right-hand side, in between my vehicle and the bus. That is before there are 22 condos being put into play at 6:42 in the morning. I can only imagine that once we have 50 to 60 more people included on this daily drive, that that won't get even more and more of an issue. Not just for me, because I when I bought my home on 72, I was aware of what I was getting myself into. Never, ever thought that I would have to deal with bus passers and people that were trying to run over my child. So I challenged the board, or the ZBA's decision on the safety for that particular reason alone. And I would like to make sure that all the board members are aware that there is a big safety issue when we're talking about this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Michelle also had a write-in correspondence, but because she was able to get on Zoom, I'm not going to read that. I trust she said what she wanted to say. So I don't see anyone else on Zoom. Any last minute hand raisers? Okay, so then we will move into viewing the legal opinion list. I did the best I could at putting that together. Did anybody?
I'm sorry. We have left over from the 9/12 meeting, the zoning administrator's request for action. It's on the notice, and I have a motion for that matter.
So if you wanted to change the agenda, that time was earlier in the meeting.
The agenda's on the notice that everybody got.
I made up the agenda, so, I did
But you
indicate
didn't put on
that a
what we already.
revised notice was needed, Cheryl. So if you did not properly notice the meeting, then we're
But the
all
whole
here
point of the
illegally.
meeting was to address the last agenda item we couldn't get to.
That's right,
Why didn't you put it on? Since
I-
you created the agenda.
I did.
right.
It's item number 3.
Why isn't it item number 1? That was what we left off with.
Because.
Because you just
are
choose?
Well, first of all, let's check and make sure that the notice is proper. If it's not, then we will adjourn this meeting.
I put out the notice. And the original notice only had zoning administrator's request for action regarding parcel number. The Bags Road parcel number here, and then you sent out a revised agenda packet, but didn't include what had already been noticed.
I did. And so the revised notice that you sent out is not identical to today's agenda. So board, it's up to the board if you would like to change the agenda. But it is the business item from our last meeting is item number 3 on this agenda.
And why are we reviewing legal opinions from before the zoning board of appeals decision? We're here to discuss the status of the property post the August 24th zoning board of appeals decision, where they brought the property into compliance with the land division ordinance, the township's land division ordinance. So I just don't see what's relevant about reviewing information that was prior to the August 24th decision. We have really the
Point of
only,
order.
excuse me.
What would you like
the only
to do about the
okay,
agenda?
Is that how you're gonna operate here?
Yes.
You're,
Yeah,
you're going to.
I
fill the
am going to
packet,
follow
380, that'd be a first.
point of order.
385 pages of slander against people and nonsensical repeated emails. And instead of getting right to the point of what we're here to do today, we have to go through 385 pages to find number 3.
Actually, we have to go through this banter, which is the reason our meetings run so long.
No, it isn't.
So a point of order, board.
What
would you
page
like to
is
do?
number 3 on? So that,
You sent the agenda out and I thought all the information there was relevant to bring us to a position in the agenda where that would hit. So I'd rather go through that stuff first.
Heidi,
You have to go through everything you listed on the agenda. So one by one,
Okay.
if it's right, we
Let's get on
continue.
with
If it's
this.
wrong,
staircase.
get out.
there's only 2 clowns allowed.
Well, there's 3 sitting here today.
I'll take one of the spots.
That'd be a good idea. Point of order, you should, as the chair, not be allowing that kind of behavior from, maybe you need to take a class in that.
Allow me to do
After
that.
you laugh about it? Wow, how unprofessional.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You deserve that one, cop.
Good. So. Did anybody have other questions or other legal opinions other than what was listed on item number 1?
I had gone through the list of files that I had and I did not see anything. And I could have missed something. I'm not certainly going to pretend that it was exact, but I did check off the 4 items that were listed in the agenda. Email dated 6/16, 6/19, 6/20, and 8/25. I did not find anything else in my files.
Any other questions or comments on number one?
Yes, the only relevant legal opinion for the matter at hand today is the email dated from Chris Patterson, confidential written legal opinion dated 8/25/2023.
What was that date?
August 25th, 2023. It was sent at 3:33 PM.
Okay. Any other comments? Heidi, the next items were presented by you.
Yep.
So I did see a motion in one of the items. But that might be number two. I don't remember where the motion was, or number three. So I'll just make a motion to discuss Volmos submittals 2A through 2G. If I can get a second on that.
I'll second my own stuff.
Okay.
I'm sorry. This motion wasn't in the packet. Motion to discuss Volmuth submittals, and then what was the motion? The rest of it?
2A through 2G. Take it away, Heidi.
Is there gonna be a vote on the motion?
Sure. Roll call when ready.
Volmuth,
Yes.
Bennett,
No.
Pop,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, no.
Well, since my team doesn't want to be a team for some reason and have a discussion, okay. My homework goes on for years on this. I have more paper, books, MSU stuff, this stuff, that stuff, and I could probably fill a closet with it. I almost bought it in all to put it around just in case I needed something, but here I sit. I hope you read everything I submitted, and I'm gonna remind you, we work and serve the people. We aid and assist a developer. Not many of you know much about me, but I will tell you that developers come back and come back and come back and come back, and they're supposed to really be a good neighbor. So I hope you read where we're at today. As far as the ZBA goes, still have a no confidence vote there.
Heidi, I will explain why I voted no. I voted no because your items are in the packet. We didn't need to do a motion to discuss them. Okay,
I just want to make sure
that's
everybody
not
read it.
because I don't want to hear from you.
Okay,
It's because
Fine.
it was already in the packet. We didn't need to do a motion.
I wanted to make sure you read them.
So how do your statements align to packet item number one, Heidi?
Well,
What are you trying to provide there? Just a current standing of where that parcel is today?
that and I voted no, not to send it to the ZBA.
Yep.
I don't know how many times you have to be told in the packet itself for the ZBA, how many times it can't go there, but okay. I think I counted 2 to 3. Once you count one, that should be enough. The confusion that exists in that packet is interesting. I'm gonna wait and hear from the rest of you, but my position is still the same as it was when we started all this. And I said, no, don't send it to the ZBA. Was pretty good reason why. And here we sit today. I still want to address Bob's mistake because we keep, I've asked for his insurance papers. I've asked if he's had insurance. I still don't have an answer to that question.
How
So-
have you asked him?
I've asked him in an email. I've asked him in an email. I've asked the board that. I've asked why it's not in his contract. I don't know what to tell you here, but we gotta quit having Fs for fail, and we keep doing that.
So is there an insurance certificate on file, Cheryl? Yes or no?
You're the one that signed the contract with him. I don't know. Did you get one?
You're the one that collected all the documents, so.
I don't think we required.
Called
an
the
insurance-
errors and admissions.
I don't think we required an insurance certificate from Bob. So it wasn't provided with the contract, so with the signed contract.
Oh, that answers. a lot
And
of
I
my
don't
questions.
think that is anything that is insurance isn't really up for discussion today unless you want to talk about the fact that the insurance company has already said they're not going to stand behind the 5-3 board decision. So if you want to talk about insurance, but honestly, we're way past someone bringing up that it shouldn't have gone to the ZBA. Heidi did vote no to send it to the ZBA, but 4 other board members voted yes. And so it went to the ZBA. We have the ZBA's determination, and the point of this meeting is not to review whether or not it should have gone to the ZBA. We got attorney advice on that and we voted accordingly. And it has been through the ZBA. And the question today is whether the board should be rescinding the 5-3 decision of the board that declared the property unbuildable.
Ellen? I'm sorry,
I don't have nothing.
Don?
I think a lot of my comments would echo what Cheryl said. I think some of the matter at hand here is I think there's an opportunity to go in a lot of different directions. I think we've heard that quite a bit. And I think, you know, if we get to the action item here, it's very specific, what we're to focus on. I don't think this is the board is here not to evaluate that ZBA decision and make comment or reflect on that. I think that has been done. And I think it's the question of how does that put us back here today and next steps to be taken.
Okay. Heidi, your second item in the packet is really more educational for the board members.
You're referring to, I was reading something, sorry.
Yeah,
Page
begins
148.
begins on packet page 148. Gave us kind of an MSU land division rundown.
Mm-hmm. And keeps going backwards, hang it. problem with this is we made a decision on our findings of facts and they're still really factual. They haven't changed. So what are we basically here for if they haven't changed? They're still facts, they're still actual. And I don't think the ZBA took that into consideration, so that's why I put where we are here. There's also a motion.
Is that a motion you'd like to make?
Are you all done with your discussions? We haven't heard from you, Ryan.
On this particular item?
Mm-hmm.
I don't honestly see the motion here on packet page 148. I apologize.
To 146
So it was in.
or 147, I'm sorry.
So do you want to make that motion?
I could. Motion, if nobody's gonna have any more discussion, motion to declare that.
Is this under B?
It's actually under A, so I thought we were done with A.
So did I.
But if this is a motion you would like to make, then make it.
I think I'm gonna make it to see where it goes. Motion to declare that the decision of Whitewater Township Board made on June 20th, 2023 to send this appeal for variance to the ZBA was an error. The parcel 28-13-136-001-02 cannot be sent to the zoning board of appeals for variance relief per general ordinance 26. Any decision made by the ZBA is null and void. The Whitewater Township Board decision on May 3rd, 2023 remains intact. The subject property remains non-compliant with the Whitewater Township ordinances. Yeah, I don't have a second.
I'll second it for discussion purposes. So I really see multiple items being dealt with in one motion. As my mind separates this out,
Okay,
I see a claim that there was a mistake made on June 20th, which I now concur. I believe now understanding how the variance request would be presented to the ZBA, I feel like our attorney lied to me. Now, I could have had I will take the responsibility of not understanding what was told to me. So my bad. And then the second, so that was one decision there. And then the other question I think that's posed here in your motion is the Whitewater Township Board decision on May 3rd remains intact, so on and so forth. Are you interested in separating this one large motion into two pieces?
do I need to?
Well, you may not get other board members to agree that there was a mistake on June 20th, like I did. So you're giving board members quite a list of things to agree to there that.
Well, you want to split it into 3 sentences then?
Do you? This is your motion.
It's my motion. I think we need to see where we all sit here, so, let's do it 1 sentence at a time. So I'm gonna rescind my motion. If you'll rescind your second, or I'll tell you what, I'll amend my motion. How's that? I'll amend my motion to state 3 different things. The first motion will be motion to.
Okay, this motion is not in the packet, so you're going to have to speak slowly enough that I can type it as you're speaking.
Okay, how about this, Cheryl? On page 147, it says possible motion language. The first motion will be motion to declare that the decision of the Whitewater Township Board made on June 20th, 2023 to send this appeal for variance to the ZBA was an error, period. That will be motion number 1. And I will need a second.
I'll second that. Motion made and seconded. Further discussion.
I'm looking at Heidi's flow chart she provided. Decision was made by the administrator, aggrieved person, government official, or body appeals decision to ZBA. We were informed through legal opinion that as the government body, we had the right to become the aggrieved person. So sending it to the ZBA was a legal choice. Following the flow chart. ZBA reviews it. If it passes, then it moves on. The township board, because all ZBA decisions are final. We don't have an option to do a do-over. Whether this motion of yours passes or not, doesn't really mean anything. Because the next step is to appeal to a circuit court for review. And that is the next step. So I'm just following your flow chart, Heidi.
I can't redraw the lines. You can't redraw the lines. Ron can't redraw the lines. Don can't redraw the lines. And Cheryl can't redraw the lines. The only one that can fix this wears a black robe. And that's not my decision. And the builder should be deciding this on his own. And I'm tired of giving him ideas.
Yeah, sure.
So, I find it offensive that Ron Pop is calling the township's legal counsel a liar. That is grossly offensive. We have had great representation from everyone at our attorney's office. And I'll just point everyone to, let me find it here. I have it noted. Point everyone to electronic page 87. And on that page, we have an email from our attorney's office. It's in the board packet. It's public information. On June 26th, 6 days after the board voted to allow the Bags Partners to go to the ZBA, where Mr. Patterson was responding to a June 24th email, which is on packet page 88 from Frank Highmore directly to our attorney's office, where he brings up section 9 of the land division ordinance, which is the section that talks about any such parcel shall also, I'm reading what he wrote. I can't tell you if this is an exact quote. Well, he does have quote marks, so hopefully it is. Mr. Highmore is quoting section 9, which says, any such parcel shall also be designated as not buildable in the township records and shall not thereafter be the subject of a request to the zoning board of appeals for variance relief from the applicable lot and or area requirements, and shall not be developed with any building or above ground structure exceed 4 feet in height. But if you go back and look at page 87, which is Chris Patterson's response, he sent an email to Ron. I never got this. I don't know this. When I was reviewing the board packet for today, yesterday, I saw this for the very first time. And he says, Ron, I can call you later this afternoon. Mr. Highmore is misreading the ordinance. I spoke to trustee Valmuth about the same section and this same language last week, explaining that the reference to the ZBA in this section doesn't apply to the stage of the matter now present before the board because the language cited below is limited by a temporal restraint that doesn't exist in section 8 and the board's action that was taken last Tuesday. So this was after we voted to send it to the ZBA and our attorney telling us that Mr. Highmore is misreading section 9 of the township's land division ordinance. This is a bogus, this is just, as I see it, a delay tactic to try to, I don't know, maybe let the people who think they're aggrieved by this decision get a chance to file their lawsuit. But that doesn't apply. And that doesn't apply. Section 9 per our attorney doesn't apply. And so let me go back and just make sure I'm addressing your motion. I don't think we need the gallery comments. That's inappropriate. But anyways, so your motion to declare that the decision of the board made on 6/20 to send appeal for variance to the ZBA was in error. That is not an error. That was done. The ZBA met. They put a lot of hard work and effort into their decision. They made the decision that this parcel is now in compliance with Ordinance 26, the township's land division ordinance. I'll be voting no on the motion.
Any other comments on the motion?
Well, on page 70, the attorney tells Bob, I just referenced the wrong ordinance. Great point. I see so much back and forth between the attorney and the zoning administrator of what's right and wrong. I keep reading more and more and I keep rereading it, and I'm like, okay, does anybody understand what the right hand is doing with the left? Because I don't see even the communications being on the same page between the zoning administrator and the attorney. So I go with my own homework.
Well, in that particular email there on page 70, Heidi, and this is what makes me feel I misunderstood something on the 20th. And I get everybody's debate that, we're not here to answer that question. I concur with that. But in the third paragraph down, I believe Chris makes a statement that we are supposed to follow the standards in the Land Division Act. And I'm not sure that's what was provided to the ZBA in their packet. And the other thing that was disturbing to me about the ZBA meeting is that the zoning administrator and hopefully our attorney is supposed to support the township's ordinance. That is the position that we are to take. And I don't believe that was done. So those are my comments on this particular topic, Heidi.
Well, another thing too is this is dated June 29th, and I do believe the variance request is dated 2020.
So unless there's any other comment.
I just looked away in my thoughts. my vote on this motion is going to be driven by, three elements. First element is that prior, to June 26th, we did have, closed session with legal counsel, and the discussion around, sending, allowing that to go to the ZBA was discussed. Obviously, because it was closed and confidential, I'm not going to go into that detail. However, then, Mr. Patterson put out the June 26th, memo, which is obviously public record, that touches upon that, to which, Clerk Goss brought up. A document that, again, was put out, and we confirmed that we had all received it, was on the 8/25 email from our attorneys, confidential, attorney-client privileged. Obviously, I cannot go into the details there. There were a little more explanation and I think affirmation of where we were leaning and how this went forward. So when I combine those three events, I'm in a position that I know how I'm going to vote.
Okay. Any other comments? Roll call when ready.
Can you read back the motion, please?
Sure.
Motion by Valmuth to declare that the decision of the Whitewater Township Board made on June 20, 2023 to send an appeal for variance to the Zoning Board of Appeals was an error. Second by Pop.
Roll call when ready.
Goss, no. Valmuth,
Yes.
Glenn,
No.
Pop,
Yes.
Bennett. No.
Motion fails. Heidi, were you going to make another motion?
Let me think about this for a second.
I'll make a motion if you don't mind.
Go ahead, because I'm thinking about just sending it right to the guy in the black robe. Go ahead.
Okay. And so along that line, and I think consistent with advice that we've received, Whitewater Township Board decision on May 23.
Is this your motion?
Yep.
Motion by Pop to,
Whitewater Township Board decision on May 3rd, 2023 remains intact. The subject property remains non-compliant with the Whitewater
the
Township.
subject property remains
It's written-
non-compliant.
Yep.
But. didn't you say-
Actually, I'm gonna truncate that to Whitewater Township Board decision on May 3, 2023 remains intact. End of motion. And that's considering the 8/25/2023 confidential opinion.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? And this is where I'll ask if anybody wants to go into closed session to discuss that opinion. And specifically, yeah, I guess just that entire entire document. I do have a motion prepared. If we would like to go into closed session.
What's the difference if we leave it out in the open?
It's marked attorney-client privilege.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so.
We can still refer to it.
Just can't
But not as some,
verbalize
not
it.
some of its exactness.
No.
Well, we can't quote from it
Right.
directly. And also, the board, there was a motion on 5-3 to go into closed session. And that failed. And, so we did not go into closed session on 5-3, and you're talking about the decision on 5-3. And I think that, we can, get our points in without, quoting directly from the opinion, just as we did on May 3rd.
Is our attorney on Zoom present?
Yeah.
So we
Chris,
can
can
ask
you
them.
hear us?
Yes, if you can hear me, yes, I can.
Good morning.
Morning.
I, for one, would like to go into closed session.
Okay. Heidi, question on closed session? Yes or no?
Oh, you're taking an open vote?
No, I'm just asking your opinion. Cheryl has indicated an opinion she doesn't want to. Don has indicated an opinion that he does want to go into closed session. So I'm asking you.
I don't really have an opinion. Doesn't matter. You can talk here, you can talk in there.
Well, you got to make a decision one way or the other.
Well,
You have to do
well,
it.
we
by
need a motion on the table to make decisions, so.
Yeah. Plus you
What's the
can't-
motion? If you wanna make the motion, if you
So-
wanna go into closed session.
Well, Ron
All right.
already made one motion, but I don't see a second on it, so are we
I
abandoning
second
it?
it.
Yes, Heidi seconded it.
Okay, I missed that.
So, and then he threw out going into closed session, so,
So I'll make a move to enter closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268, paragraph I, paragraph H,
it'd be 1H, wouldn't it?
to discuss a confidential written legal opinion from the township attorney regarding township land divisions and the August 2024 decision. The zoning board of appeals regarding 6631 Bags Road, Williamsburg, Michigan. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Bennett,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, no, Bauman,
No.
Pop.
Yes.
What do you want to do with the motion you currently have on the floor?
Well, I think that motion is still active, but there's questions regarding this particular opinion from 8/25 that at least one or two board members, or three in this case, want to talk about. So do you want to, what would you like to do? You want to remove it from the floor and then we just make it again? I'm fine with that, if that would make you more comfortable.
I don't know what the parliamentary procedures are on that.
Well,
Do
it was
you?
Ron's motion, so he can rescind it.
You can
Sure.
rescind
Rescind
it,
it.
I can rescind my second.
I'll resend it. I will reach out to Chris. And see if the number I have is good for him. So we can head back to Ardella's. I've got confirmation that the phone is working.
Do you need, don't you need a super majority?
2/3.
Yeah. And that's for. Yeah,
You ain't going
good,
anywhere.
good point, Heidi.
Good point, Heidi. Let's
Good
make
point.
sure
That motion failed.
that motion failed. Yeah. Okay. So Chris, I'm sorry. The motion to go in closed session requires a 2/3 super majority. And so
You don't
that
have-
motion failed. Thank you, Heidi.
Not my first rodeo.
So I will once again make the motion then that the Whitewater Township Board decision on May 3, 2023 remains intact.
I will second my motion.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion.
The motion was that the Whitewater Township Board decision on May 3rd remains intact.
Yes.
I just want to reiterate again that we work and serve the people. We aid and assist the developer. Mistakes were made. We keep failing. There is a solution. Let it go there. Because none of us can fix the mistakes that were made. And there is a court case out there very similar to ours. You just have to find it.
Any other comments? Sure.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, the ZBA's decision on August 24th rendered the property compliant with the township's land division ordinance, and the board's decision on 5-3 is no longer valid. Those findings were addressed and by way of the ZBA decision, and the property is now compliant with the land division ordinance, and we just need to make a statement so that there's no confusion for the planning commission or anyone else going forward that the property is now compliant with the township's land division ordinance. And you know, whatever happens going forward, whether they bring whether the owners of the parcel bring something to the planning commission asking for some kind of approval, that deals, the planning commission will review that in light of the zoning ordinance, which isn't a part of the board's 5-3 decision. And so, so that there's no confusion going forward, we just need to, rescind the board's 5-3 decision because it doesn't comport with the decision of the zoning board of appeals on August 24th.
Use the word confusion, Cheryl. Watch the meeting. The ZBA meeting was a lot of confusion. Even with the 4-1 topic, which now has to be readdressed at the plan commission level because of misinformation. Okay.
The planning commission doesn't discuss the width to depth ratio of a parcel.
It
The
does
width
when it,
to- No, that's the land division ordinance.
I
and the-
understand that, but
excuse
when,
me,
okay,
the land
whatever.
division ordinance, this is about, the zoning board of appeals rendered the property compliant with the township's land division ordinance. And so that going forward, the board hasn't made a statement that doesn't comport with the zoning board of appeals decision. Because in my opinion, the 5-3 decision cannot remain intact post the August 24th ZBA decision. But the findings are no longer valid.
Don?
Again, staying in a narrow band here of what we're focusing in on. And the question, that has been posed, at least in my mind, was looking at the ZBA's decision, meeting aside, that's another topic for another time. The outcome of that meeting was they granted the variances to the property that were applicable to ordinance 26. And there weren't any caveats that put on that. They weren't being permissible to say, you have zoning, you have approval, you have permits. What they did was say they granted the variance to allow that parcel to be manageable. Our findings of fact were centered around on May 3rd, those items to which the ZBA addressed.
You felt they addressed your findings of fact?
They didn't specifically address the findings of fact.
No, they didn't. Okay.
I never said they
they were
did.
not
I never
they-
said it.
That wasn't their, it wasn't an appeal from the board's 5-3 decision.
correct. They were taking a look at the applicant's request, and their judgments were based around what that condition was.
Ardella, anything?
Cheryl's correct in her statements. I agree with Don. The ZBA looked at what was before them and they made a decision on if there was going to be a variance to the 4-1. They based their decision on past, what the township has done in the past, and the fact that they had granted it 3 other times on very similar type like properties. They went through their criteria. And that's what we're here today, because now they have made it illegal conforming property. Your findings of fact,
Legal non-conforming.
legal, sure, legal non-conforming, but still legal.
Okay.
One of the findings of facts that you listed when you decided to make this a non-buildable parcel no longer is valid.
One of them, you say?
We're talking about a specific one.
Okay.
I'm not seeing the point of going against a decision that we can't overturn. The only point of keeping the board's decision from May 3rd intact is to be an obstruction body. And that's not our role. They're quasi judicial, we are legislation. There is a division of duties for a purpose. All citizens, and in this particular case, the township was considered an aggrieved party. We are the ones that brought it forward to the ZBA. Have a right to do that. They are the last line of defense for all citizens, including the township board.
Could I ask you a question?
I would like to finish. Because Heidi, I would
No,
like
go
to hear
ahead.
your questions.
Go ahead.
But when you interrupt somebody's
sorry,
train
go
of
ahead.
thought, you can mess them up,
Okay,
just like
go
you just
ahead.
did to me.
Sorry,
I don't
go
know if
ahead.
that's a tactic you use on purpose.
That was a pretty good one right now. So
Yeah.
go ahead, finish, because
I will be voting no on this because I do not believe that by doing this, it is going to do anything other than show whoever, whatever, judge or jury, that this township board is being an obstructionist when it goes to court, because this is gonna go to court. It's gonna go to court. So you make this decision today, and that's gonna put this township in a very specific light. And it will not be favorable to the people that want to overturn the ZBA decision.
Okay.
I mean, if you're truly looking out for them, let the process happen. Stop being an obstructionist. That's all I have to say.
Okay, I have a problem with the process because when you look at their findings of fact and their yeses and nos, why do I just get a yes? I need an explanation. Some of them, it's just yes or a scribble or we don't know.
Different question for a different day, Heidi.
It doesn't matter, you're still making the
micromanage
decision.
Another,
I'm not
another
micromanaging
board,
nothing.
then I guess you gotta change that law in Lansing because that's not our job.
Well, the problem is they never even followed their bylaws. So now I question
So
the
you-
bylaws, I'm questioning the yes. No, because I'm sitting here going, if I'm a judge and I'm looking at all this, ooh, fail over here, fail over there, fail over here.
But let the judge do
Good.
that.
Then let him make the decision. Exactly. Let it go.
So
there.
why are we doing this today?
So I would like to get my first round of comments in, please, Cheryl, unless you have something specific
Go ahead.
to. All right, so can everybody call up the 825 legal opinion written by Mr. Patterson? And can you go to page 2 of 3 and look at the third paragraph from the end? Let me know when everybody's there.
What page
Are
is
you
that?
counting this as one paragraph?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the paragraph of interest to me is if the township board. Let me know when everybody's there.
It's still a legal opinion, right?
It is, yeah, this is a confidential opinion. Heidi, are you there yet?
And
Okay,
you said paragraph 2?
no, 3 from the bottom.
Go ahead.
Okay, and so this is the second sentence in where it says a court action. This is the reason I made my motion. It provides us a clean closure. It gets rid of all of the arguments, all of the discussions that Cheryl has said, that Don has said, that Heidi's is stating. It provides that clean cut. And that's what I'm interested in. I really struggle with the fact that I feel I made a mistake on June 20th, but it wouldn't have changed the outcome anyway. But this way, there are no mistakes. And it's going to be painful it has been painful for everyone involved. But this is final. And I think, Ardella, you already said it's going there anyway.
Yeah, I don't see why we need to drag it out. And by placing, by rescinding that motion that was made by the township board to make this an unbuildable parcel, that also accomplishes what's listed here.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. It's still gonna go to court. This just skips this step and all this time it's going to take.
Well, and it's also in direct contrast to what both you and Cheryl said, that the decision can remain. And this paragraph clearly says it can.
I don't see why we would. That's
So-
like telling the ZBA that the decisions that they make don't matter because the township board's going to interfere and step in.
No, it's not.
It's a clear message.
Because clearly the ZBA can't overrule an administrative action. That was made clear by several people. So,
What
um,
people?
And they didn't.
and they didn't. That's right, Cheryl.
That's
And
right.
so-
that is not their focus.
That was.
That's
Out of
not
their
their job.
wheelhouse
Yep.
completely.
So, this provides the township and its taxpayers with the ultimate protection. The best we can get.
That is not a true statement. I believe that what you're attempting to do with that paragraph is you're attempting to shift the legal cost of suing the township from the Bags Road people who some of whom have spoken here today, Vicky Beam, Connie Highmore. Excuse me, you want to shift the focus, the legal expense from people who spoke here today, numerous people who spoke here today, from them, because Vicky Beam did say they have hired a lawyer and a lawsuit will be coming. And so what you want to do is you want to shift the legal costs you want to keep the 5-3 decision intact in an effort to shift the brunt of the legal costs to the Bags partners. And I think that's wrong. And also, I think everyone should be very aware, since you brought it up about the third paragraph from the end, I would just ask everybody to read the very last, if you have coverage section, because we already have an opinion from the insurance carrier that there is no coverage under the township's, what was it, professional liability insurance or something like that. Although they'll revisit it if an action actually is filed, but that's playing with fire. That's reckless to subject the township to, subject the Bags partners to that. There simply is no basis anymore for the 5-3 decision. We can go through the findings of fact. Everyone should have read them. They were in the packet. There simply is no basis for that decision anymore post the ZBA's 8/24 meeting. And, because their decision did bring the parcel into compliance with the land division ordinance. Now, some people will say it didn't, but that, like you said, may be decided by someone else. But I think this is a reckless decision to keep the 5-3 decision intact. I think it's reckless and will be costly for the taxpayers of the township. And I don't think we should go there if we may not have to.
Reckless. Ooh, reckless and confusion. That's all I've heard. Yet, we're not discussing the mistake that was made. Okay. That's why it needs to go see the guy in the black robe. Because so much is wrong here. Somebody has to make it right. There's 3 choices. He will come to determination. I wonder if you've thought of those. That's all I have.
It's my understanding any so-called mistake was corrected by the ZBA's action.
Does the motion on the floor accomplish what you think needs to be accomplished?
You're talking about yours still?
Yeah.
Shall we read the motion?
Motion by Pop that the Whitewater Township Board decision on 5-3 remains intact. Second by Valmue.
I'm good with that.
Is there any other?
Yeah,
discussion?
I just want to, I'm putting the debate aside. I think we've moved past that. Is, there some discussion, disagreement on whether the matter should have been remanded to the ZBA for decision. If I recall, the vote was 4-1. And I think, I sit here and I wonder, and I certainly don't pretend to understand my colleagues' rationale for everything. You have your own reasons why you did it, but I think certainly speaking for myself, sending that to the ZBA was an attempt to get them to weigh in on a matter of variances, not a question of whether the property was buildable or not. Their decision was decisive. And when I look to apply that decision by the ZBA to the decision the board made on May 3rd, I find inconsistencies there. I find that the ZBA's approval of the variance disarmed many of the May 3rd's findings of fact, which certainly stand behind, but given the applicant an opportunity to go in front of the ZBA, and I'm saying this rhetorically, if there's some people that don't like what the ZBA's decisions was, it still is, and it still has to be applied, at least in my mind, in reference to the original May 3rd board decision to declare it unbuildable. Because at that time, I still stand by, that was the right and just decision to do it. It has since evolved where there's another paradigm involved in this, and I think it has to be weighed against that May 3rd decision to ultimately decide whether that May 3rd decision stands as is or is rescinded.
Will we be sending all our general ordinances then to the ZBA? Because we'll set a precedence. Just asking the question.
I hope that's hypothetical, because I can't.
You set a precedent, you set a precedent. Exceptions? Okay, context? Okay, but should we now, are we gonna have to re-educate our zoning board of appeals because they're now gonna hear all kinds of stuff? Because we're gonna set a precedence? Okay.
Speaking specifically to that, Heidi. And what I'm about to say is probably going to be inflammatory. But had ordinance 26 been followed in 2020, the
Wouldn't be
decision
here.
would have gone to the ZBA
Yep.
because it had in the past.
Not necessarily when the variants have to be asked at time of division.
Well, that's what I'm
That's what
speaking.
he's-
Wasn't 2020 the time of the division? Okay, and so, you know, there's several cases that we can look through ZBA history where the zoning administrator had forwarded to the ZBA to answer this very question. Should this land division take place even though it doesn't comply with the 4-1? And so the only difference is here in this particular scenario is that it happened 3 years ago, right? And the mistake was not uncovered until recently. So I don't think we're setting a dangerous position there, but maybe we are. I'm ready to vote.
And honestly, why wasn't I questioned why, the owners of the parcel, weren't given the opportunity, apparently wasn't suggested to them, before the 5-3 motion that maybe, the ZBA could clear this up. And they would go to and have them go to the ZBA before the board's 5-3 decision. We wouldn't even have had the board's 5-3 decision. The fact that they, that one happened before the other, I think is kind of has cost everybody a lot of time and effort.
Well, it's because you omit a
in
public
this.
hearing.
Well, to answer your question there, Cheryl, I mean, really, the developer themselves could have taken care of this by a simple lot line adjustment. So.
And then you would have had another public hearing for the people and everybody would have got their say.
Anybody's, submittals into question, but, this could have all been handled by the developer with simple lot line adjustments. No splits, no nothing. So.
And another public hearing for the people. That's what's missing at the end of the day is he got his public hearing, but the people didn't get their public hearing. If you go back and do all the process and look from step to step to step, that's what really gets them. That's what's really omitted here at the beginning is.
Well, there's no public hearing on lot line adjustments. So.
No, before that, there would have been a public hearing, Cheryl, at the time of division for the question.
Sure. So. The motion is, Cheryl?
Motion by Pop that the Whitewater Township Board decision on 5-3 remains intact, second by Valmute.
Okay, roll call when ready.
Pop,
Yes.
Goss. No. Valmute,
Yes.
Bennett. No. Glenn,
No.
Motion fails. Is there another motion to bring this to a close?
well, I would like to bring forward, the motion that, it's been modified just slightly, but, I do have that motion here. Need to get back to it.
And are we gonna be right back in this predicament if somebody challenges the ZBA?
So
And
what page was your motion coming from, Cheryl, of the packet?
well, it was in, Bob's, it's in that
All right, so,
other agenda item.
And so.
I did,
Page 381.
speak to
Yeah.
Chris Patterson about the wording of the motion. And, there was a change made, at the end of the motion. If I can read that motion, I'd like to make it.
So is the base motion on 382? Page 382?
That's what well, there's a motion on
Um,
382. I don't, that's it.
I just kind of want to get an.
Yes, that's except that at the end, that the subject property is now in compliance with all applicable Whitewater Township ordinance. I've removed that and substituted that the subject property is now in compliance with the township's land division ordinance, because of course, if something does go to the planning commission, there's the zoning ordinance and we can't, that's the planning commission's job.
You took out the last, that the subject property, you took that out. But you're adding what in?
No,
No, the very end where it says in compliance with all township ordinances, I substituted that, now in compliance with the township's land division ordinance, because we can't say that it's in compliance with all township ordinances. That
Right.
is too broad.
yeah.
So my motion is to rescind the May 3rd, 2023 Whitewater Township Board decision declaring parcel 2813-136-00102 not eligible for any building permits or zoning approvals such as special land use approval or site plan approval. And further finding that based upon the variance from the 4:1 width to depth ratio requirements granted by the Zoning Board of Appeals on 8/24/2023, the subject property is now in compliance with the township's land division ordinance.
Are we being too premature here? I mean,
I'll second that. Sorry. Henry.
that's okay. I give
Motion
you this
made,
second
seconded.
for
Further discussion? Thank
Are we
you.
being
Rick.
are we being a little premature here? Because if the zoning board of appeals meeting is challenged or appealed by the aggrieved party, are you trying to make the aggrieved party right now the people by doing this?
The
Or,
Zoning Board of Appeals decision was not an appeal of the board's 5-3 decision.
forget I asked. Forget.
Heidi, did you have some additional question? I mean, clearly I can sense that you're frustrated.
Extremely.
Okay,
So if you're going to, we're going through all these motions, and that was probably the wrong word to use, but we're going through this process. What happens when the zoning board of appeals is challenged by the aggrieved party? Because
Go-
right now, unless we do something, you have two aggrieved parties. Do you realize that? But maybe not.
so refer to, I'm sorry, Cheryl, I didn't mean to. cut
Go
you
ahead,
off.
Cheryl, if you
I
want to
was
say something,
only
say
going
it.
to say that the way decisions of the Zoning Board of Appeals work, is my understanding, is that, someone files an action in circuit court and the record, of the meeting, the minutes, the decision form, those are the things that are, to be reviewed by, the judge. So this would be a question for our attorney, whether the 5-3 decision of the board would be part of the circuit court's, decision or not.
But you also have, this is where I got my problems.
Can I say something?
Go
first?
ahead, maybe you
Okay.
can help me out here.
Well, your packet number
Mhm.
5, Heidi,
Mm-hmm,
shows the flow chart.
mm-hmm,
So if there's an aggrieved party
That's where they go,
of the
right?
ZBA, then they go see the person in the black robe.
Correct.
You said man in the black robe, I'm
Man
gonna
in
say
the-
person,
Whatever.
okay? So that accomplishes your goal, right?
But I have another problem because the zoning board of appeals took their findings of fact possibly on misquoted information from one of their members. So he didn't complete his thought process to this whole thing is just wrong from the beginning.
So, okay, let's say that every possible mistake was made during the ZBA meeting. Let's just say that, okay?
Even sending it there, how about that?
Well, let's just say every possible mistake was made.
Okay.
If there is an aggrieved party, and if they mount a challenge to the ZBA action, who sorts out the question?
Yep.
No, I'm asking,
That's,
who? Well, look at your flow chart.
I know where it goes. It
Okay.
goes, this could actually get a do-over at one point if the judge decides it's that bad. But
We're not making that judgment. And I think most of the board consensus is that that was a decision for a different day. Right?
okay,
And so I've already said that I feel I made a mistake, so be it. That's how I feel in retrospect. Nobody else does. Okay, fine.
I can't put something in compliance that's still not in compliance just because somebody thinks it is.
Any other discussion on this particular motion? Cheryl, would you reread the motion, please?
Motion by Goss to rescind the May 3rd, 2023 Whitewater Township Board decision declaring parcel 2813-136-00102 not eligible for any building permits or zoning approvals such as special land use approval or site plan approval, and further finding that based upon the variance from the 4:1 width to depth ratio requirements granted by the Zoning Board of Appeals on 8/24/23, the subject property is now in compliance with the township's land division ordinance. Second by Bennett.
Roll call when ready.
Glenn,
Yes.
Pop,
For the reasons stated in the August 25th, 2023 legal opinion, I am voting no.
Bennett,
Yes. I'm also voting no.
Goss, yes, Valmute,
No. Surprised you didn't call me first, Cheryl.
Motion
You're
passes.
losing it.
Okay, so that is done for today. Will that take us to item number 4, discuss any park and recreation relevant item?
Is that what this change order is? about?
Yeah, so, again, without a motion here, can we just open the floor up for discussion purposes of change order 3?
You want a motion?
Sure.
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to discuss the change orders number 3 for the park.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Here we go. On 9/12, we talked about parking lot changes. And then a couple of days later, we got some,
Don't we have to vote on that motion to discuss?
oh, jeez. Details. Roll call when ready.
She's right.
Either gotta follow the Roberts Rules of Order, or we gotta throw them in. the
I know,
garbage.
I
One
know.
or the other. You can't do half and half.
See, even I don't wanna follow.
But it's massive confusion when you do half and half. Nobody knows when to speak or what to do.
Bennett,
Yes.
Valmir,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, yes.
All right, so. 9:12, excuse me. We talked about, different draining engineering. Originally, we had proposed for that acre lot to sheet drain across some grass. We felt that that was an erosion concern. And this is how we dealt with it. We decided to change the grading to kind of center drain from the parking lot. Install a couple of storm sewer structures. And then pipe the storm water to the reservoir. We understood that it was about a $17,000 cost to do that. And here is the change order. Now, to help pay for this, we also shrunk the work scope and didn't excavate or add new gravel to the park entrance road and around the dump station. The cost savings for that was, well, a benefit. So there's actually a reduction in cost, project cost of about $4,300. Does the board think that we made positive changes to the project by going to the stormwater drain?
I would hope so.
Yes. Yeah, I really do. So, I probably didn't have to bring this to the board because it's actual reduction in price. But I think it's wise because we also changed the scope of the project.
Well, by bringing this the way you have, it keeps all the transparency right there on one sheet. For everybody to see, the public and all the township board members. Yes, we've discussed every one of these items. But I think you were right in bringing it to the board.
Thank you. And so looking at the email I sent out on Saturday. We open that up a little bit. And I believe it was sent around 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Is that titled Proposed Park Work Scope Reduction?
It is. Did anybody let me know when you all can get there at that email?
Give me just a second.
Yep.
I didn't save it to my desktop.
What is the subject line again?
Proposed park work scope reduction. I'm gonna go get the map while you guys are looking for that.
I sent an expert over there and they approved.
What, ladies?
What you were doing because I was confused. So I sent someone an email and they went over and looked at it.
I'm sorry, what day was Saturday, the 16th?
I think it was the
Yes.
19th, Cheryl.
It's the 16th, around 3 p.m., like 3:07.
Oh, no, it's 16.
Got it.
Titled Proposed Park Work Scope Reduction.
Okay,
It starts out with all I would like to thank.
I know I saw it. I don't know if I've, here it is. Okay.
Yep. Well, I did. I'm here.
Instead of standing in front of the audience, I'll stand up here and then the board can still see the drawing and then the audience has an idea of,
Oh, yeah, the people on the Zoom, okay.
well,
And I-
then,
No, he should put it on there.
okay,
Rachel
so.
does.
I'm looking at the site. And all of the green area that we are responsible to irrigate. So the grass will perform according to the contract.
Yeah.
Is significant. And that was one of the reasons why we moved away from the gravel, is to reduce that. And it did, it reduced it by about 40,000 square feet, this area of grass that we had to irrigate. So we've got an irrigation concern that's coming forward. We put about $10,000 of money into the budget for this project and a well. I think we're gonna have to move forward with that. And we really didn't put anything in for long-term irrigation, and I'm still not sure we have to. But the irrigation demand that this area will create on our existing well, I think is going to be too significant. And so,
Absolutely.
okay, and so I think we need to begin moving forward yet this fall with the installation of a well.
And that'll take care of the boat wash too, or no?
Probably will, depending on the location, and I think that an amicable location, physical location of the new well can
Can we tie
accommodate
it
that.
all in?
Yeah.
At least save some money?
Sure. Well, and that's the reason for this project scope reduction, okay? There's some things here that I'm not sure we're gonna get a huge benefit from. Just like this area up here being re-gravelled. I didn't see the huge benefit that we were gonna get.
Right, none of us did.
Okay, yep. And so the next thing that I don't think we get a huge benefit out of is the pull-off ramp that's right here, where boats untie so they can launch. Then the other area involves this electrical pole out here that I don't think we're gonna get a huge benefit from. Couple of reasons why. There's an unknown storm sewer structure here. It's not on the print.
An unknown?
Yeah. Well, again, this.
I get it, I get it.
Well,
Well,
unknown, is there a cover there?
Is there a cover? Is there something
Is there,
there?
How about we
I
let
don't
him
remember.
finish?
Can I interject though about that? Because the reason that is done that way is so that, remember, you're going from 2 ramps to 4. And those boats need to have that turning radius area. They're coming down the drive and they've got to swing all the way around to back up to the ramp. I believe I asked at one time Rick Stout to put the turning radius thing on that. And that's when that came into play as something that needed to be shaved off so that you've got, because if you've got, 4 vehicles, you may not always have 4 vehicles, but it's a turning radius situation is what it is.
actually, it's a backing thing.
Well, yeah, but turning,
So
so
Cheryl,
you can back up.
Cheryl has a good understanding of why this might be necessary. However, any person who has a commercial driver's license would know this as an alley dock. That is the specific maneuver required to use the boat ramp.
Mhm.
So the car or vehicle has to come around,
Shake your
swing
head.
way down here to the water level, then make a hard left to try and get as straight as possible. That doesn't work
They don't
Even-
swing to the water level right now.
Even
with
with a
the dock the way it
24-foot
is.
boat. This distance currently exists as about 90 feet. So you can get about 3/4 of the way straight with the ramp. This additional distance was meant to help get straight with the ramp. However, this removal was not part of the bid package. The stormwater sewer, the reason I say it's unknown is because this plan was developed with 14 inches of snow on the ground. And that is the number provided by the surveyor who did this work. And
It
so
should
they
be
didn't,
part of the big package. It's on the prints.
no, it's not. It is not. That structure is not there. And so, none of its removal or none of its grading to get up in here is included.
Or doing anything with the existing storm drain.
Yep, and our power pole is now gone, which is the feed to our pavilion.
Well, no, the power pole wasn't gonna be removed. That, I remember that specifically. That's much further up the hill. It's not right down in that area.
But you're good.
Why would we take out the light at the boat launch? That's the light at the boat launch.
Yeah,
We wouldn't take that out. It's also the pole that the internet comes in on.
Mhm.
And so the pole can't be removed. I agree with that totally. I just think you're gonna have a problem with boat turning radius. But this is what you're recommending, this is what you wanna do, go for it.
well, and I think that even with this proposed, we're still gonna have the problem with the boat turning radius that exists today. It must exist today.
If you went to 4, it would.
It's never really been a problem. I've seen hundreds, thousands of boats launched down there. It's never really been a problem.
Okay,
But you only got 2 boat launches.
I mean, and remember that not every boat launch, person launching a boat has a CDL. Most of them don't.
and so near as I can tell from the staking that's in the water, the 2 new additional ramps are gonna go one on the south, one on the north of our existing pad. And so as I outlaid here in this email on Saturday, the people with the longer boats that this turning radius will really affect, they can come all the way over here, get straight in the parking lot, and then back in and use the southmost lane.
Providing they think that way. Most people don't think that way. Most people think, look at the water, where's the current, where's my best spot?
But then you're blocking people from the 10 spaces that face the pavilion too. I mean, they don't
But
wanna
only
go
during
clear up to
launch.
the parking lot.
Only
They don't
during
wanna
launch.
go up, clear up to the parking lot. That's backing up much longer than they need to back up. Most people, well, there's a lot of people that, me included, don't back up boats very well. But,
Boat trailers are difficult.
yeah, they are,
Especially when they're empty
right.
and especially at
that's right.
night,
Yeah, that's right.
especially at night, because you can't see the trailer.
That's when the dock gets hit
Yep,
and
Yep.
pushed around.
yep. And so, we're multiplying that by 2 here, the chances. And I think that if it becomes a problem in the future, that we really wipe this island out completely. For example, if we went to Yuba and we looked at that launch,
It's a straight shot.
it is, this inbound traffic comes in at a 90-degree angle to the ramp.
That's the same way they do it in Elk Rapids.
And so
Elk Rapids, you enter at a 90-degree angle to the ramps. 4
This-
ramps. Sorry.
this current design does not do that. If we wipe this out in the future, then we can bring our traffic in here and create that 90-degree and straight back in.
By waiting and doing this in the future, it gives us a couple key points. One is we can find the additional funding to do it. And two, we'll have an opportunity to see exactly what's happening. How it's actually working out before we make the decision.
And that's where I'm specifically at, Ardella. I don't know what everybody's talents are for backing up these vehicles.
Minimal.
I'm gonna
Minimal.
assume, like you
Zero.
and Cheryl are indicating, that it's minimal, especially at night. I don't like getting rid of the power pole.
We
And
could move it farther up the hill, couldn't we?
We could, but then we're gonna have to.
I'll be honest with you, that is the beacon coming in at night.
Oh, it is.
Whereas White-
Yeah.
It is,
Oh,
but you
no,
can't-
I agree.
I'm like, okay, take the tower away. I'll never get home.
So, again, this would be something I think would be addressed in the future after we realize how doubling the lane spaces is really gonna affect this project. Will it be affected? I agree with Cheryl. Yes, it will be. But how? And so if this recommended change would accomplished it, then we've kind of lost out, right? But honestly, I'm looking for any way to save dollars. And this inbound lane here, I really don't think we need it, because as in Acme, the inbound road, sometimes we're stacked up here 6 deep. And Acme,
And if you have somebody pull over to undo their bindings, now they gotta shoot back into that line.
no, the guy whose courtesy, who provides enough courtesy to the other launch users gets
Yeah, that's why.
messed
He gets
over.
to just sit
Gets
there.
messed
Yes,
over
just sit there.
because everybody pulls by that person. There is no courtesy at the boat launch,
No.
believe me.
And see, half the people look at the water and go, if I put it on that one, then the boat will go into the dock more. Their concept of why they're launching where they're launching isn't logical either.
So
Think about it.
there
It's
is,
logical, but it doesn't work for what they're launching.
I'm not opposed to continuing with this construction as it's drawn. Just know that we will have some more costs coming our way. And because these two drain items were around 17,000. And this one's just gotta get basically plugged off, filled, and then, I guess there's gonna be 2 foot of dirt put in this area here, which is quite low.
It's gonna
Or
need-
a lot of fill. And so the current structure is gonna be about 2 foot below.
So by removing that section and removing the drainage that wasn't seen previously, how is that going to affect the flow of water from the hardscape towards the lake?
Yeah, excellent question, right? So taking a look at, and some of the pictures I tried to show on the website, detail that we currently have a hump curb in this area and in this area, directing water right into that storm drain. So we're not getting the sheet effect right down into the water. I trust that this structure drains over to one of these 2 retention areas.
And there's the pond also off the parking lot. Well, right where the parking lot starts on the left-hand side where parking faces starts, there's a little retention basin right there too. For stormwater.
Where's that now, Cheryl?
Isn't that
So-
common?
So if you have come around the bottom and you're heading, you've passed the parking spaces on your left that are for the pavilion. And you go past a little grassy area and then you get to the first several parking spaces on the left, there's a retention pond right off of those parking spaces right there.
Is that by the bathroom?
The bathrooms,
It's
I think, are
up from the
here.
bathroom.
Up
And
farther?
so
up from
there's
the
a
bathroom.
spot and there's a spot.
Isn't there a little channel cut there to drain the, direct the water?
I don't remember that. but-
So
We just have to make sure that the water that's directed from the hardscapes, the driveways, don't go directly downhill into the water.
yeah,
Needs to
So-
be filtered.
I'm not sure how the board wants to address this.
Well, supposedly, the drawings are supposed to address it. The engineering company that put this together must have already addressed this, correct?
No, because we brought to their attention that the storm drain was there. And so this was, I'll say Thursday of last week, maybe Wednesday, when Mr. Walton and I walked the area. So again, if we're not concerned about the budget, I mean, we're still under what we budgeted. But I see things like this right here that potentially take us over the budget. Just because there's so many things we didn't plan for.
I don't know what version of the drawings that is, but I don't know. Because that's not the last drawing right
Sure.
there. So that's the last one that was actually printed out for the public to see.
Got it.
So you're telling me that little widening of the turning radius is not on the final drawing?
No, that is. The
Okay,
storm
then it
drain-
should have been bid.
The storm drain is not.
Okay,
And none of this area is slated for removal. Just like this area up here. This is not slated for removal. But that's the next change order that's coming. And I've addressed it here. I think we ought to leave it as blacktop. But Mr. Walton says that he can't cut this grade correctly
To
and
get it to
get
flow.
this area and this area to match unless he pulverizes this section of road.
well, it's in bad shape at the top, I know that,
Yeah, but it's
and
really,
going down.
it's really just block cracking. And I think that we have worse roads in the township, quite frankly.
Oh, we might.
And,
we do.
It is a seasonal use, but I guess I don't know why down there at the turning radius issue, why the storm drain that's there just can't be lowered.
it needs to be raised. Cause this area, as I understand, it's getting 2 foot of fill in it.
Why would it get 2 foot of fill?
Well, if you remember correctly, to get this storm water from this edge and this edge not to go into the water, there's a heck of a divot here.
I get that. Well, it's not enough of a divot that people don't park in there. Because people do pull off the end of they'll pull right up and they'll park right, except for where the storm drain is. People park in there all the time when the lot's full. So, they can drive right off it. And back off it too. Off to where that turning radius is. You may not have seen that kind of traffic this summer, but we have seen it many times.
I'm not sure where they would back to.
No, they just back up and they back their boat, they've launched their boat, they pull right up in there.
Yeah.
And they
just
park.
beach it.
And they just, they like beach it, they just get their trailer all the way off the road.
And they
And then
beach
when
it
they
across
want
the
to
whole.
retrieve their boat,
Uh-huh.
yeah, they
No.
pull right up in there. Oh,
That's why they
yes.
have
Oh, yes,
95
no,
million
the whole
parking
way through
signs.
there. Seen it many times, many times.
You don't pull up that hill.
You do pull up that hill, they're sitting there on an.
Well, I'm just
Oh, yeah,
telling you,
many
Ron,
times.
they do, and that's why Cheryl has 9 to 10 no parking signs there.
Yeah.
Well, no,
That
no,
damage- that would
we don't have
damage our-
cars in the boat trailer parking lot, which became a problem at one time.
That would damage our land up here and.
No, it hasn't ever damaged it. They pull right off, they pull right straight forward coming out of the ramp and they pull right up there. I've seen
Hmm.
many boats, now maybe not huge boats, but certainly the majority of the boats are not that huge and they pull right up in there. And then when they want to retrieve their boat, they just back it right down and they are sitting on an angle there and they back right down to the launch. Seen it many times. Hundreds of times.
So
But anyways, let's move this along. What do we need to do here? Do we need to have a motion to approve this change order?
Well, did we already vote on the change order number 3?
No?
Okay.
No,
And so just,
We have
I
a
guess,
motion.
be aware that we're gonna have some more change orders coming forward. You know, as I suggested in my Saturday email, just leave this road alone. Mike Walton says we can't. We can abandon the turnoff lane, which I think is good. What do you want to do here? Want to move forward as it's designed and then receive whatever change order we need to block off the storm drain? Or how do you want to handle that?
The only thing we have in front of us, isn't it, is
Yes.
this change order 3.
But I'm telling you,
Right.
they need to have direction on, just
Other
like we
things,
did
yeah.
on, just like we did on the 12th, right? We provided direction, although there was no change order in front of us. How did the board want to proceed with this design of the parking ramp? So we decided to storm drain it.
So what kind of, you probably don't know this yet, but maybe you have some idea. If we eliminate that, the pullover spot,
Yep.
what is that gonna save us? And will it offset what it's gonna cost us for that drain to be removed?
It might be close. Yeah, it might be close.
So would we be better to just do the drain now versus doing it later? I mean, I'm the one that brought up, see how it's gonna actually affect, but
Yeah.
cost wise, if we really think we're gonna end up doing it, is it gonna cost us more to do it later? Or are we offsetting it by,
It always costs
the
you to do
turnover?
more later. You gotta bring the equipment in, so.
All good questions, all good questions. But my concern here is more about the water that's coming right off the parking lot and going into the lake. So that's the question I'm trying to steer away from in the future.
I'm not even sure environmentally if they're going to let us eliminate that drain. Because isn't that what you're
I'm-
saying? It has to be eliminated?
Yeah,
If
I
we-
don't even know who you would ask. I assume soil erosion. And
Well,
so,
when we were going to do the flush toilet facility, when we were going to do that and, backed away from it because it was prohibitively expensive. The health department was not going to allow, the removal of any drains, including that one I just described that's up at the top there. Of the, entrance, just off the entrance to the south of the boat ramp parking lot.
Until we know
yeah,
for
but
sure.
you're talking retention pond. That's different than drain. Okay,
It's a drain.
no, a retention pond is just that.
Okay,
It
I get it.
retains the
Yeah, I
water.
get it, but
This is
why
a-
would they?
This is a drain structure
Right.
that pipes water from here to probably here, maybe here.
It
We
still
don't
goes into the
know.
lake.
It still goes into the lake,
Yeah.
but
After it goes through the filtration of these ponds,
correct. That's the difference right there.
dry
Ardella.
ponds.
That's the difference. And so, I like the idea of attempting to, put a riser on that storm drain. I don't know if it's possible. We just don't know a lot of things. So if we want to keep this kind of as designed, I'm fine with that.
I'm okay with removing the pullover spot.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else is. I'm fine.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable cost savings because I can tell you that anybody who uses the pull-off lane gets bypassed because the next person in behind you zooms right into
They
line.
all think
So
you're
you lose
sitting
your
there doing
spot.
something,
Yeah, so you lose your spot.
And let's face it, while they're waiting in line, a lot of them jump out and do what they gotta
Yeah,
do.
yeah, that's exactly what happens at Yuba. Exactly what happens at Yuba. So in my Saturday email, area 1, right up here, pulverizing that road is still got to take place according to Walton. So we have to take 1 off of the table. Area 2, which is this green area here. If we want to keep that construction, that's fine. We'll get another change order coming our way.
What was that again? I'm sorry.
Area 2 is this green island that you refer to as turning radius.
Right.
If we want to leave that construction as it's currently designed.
Or leave it as it exists today, correct?
Or leave it as it exists today, either one. What do you think you want to do there?
I'd rather leave it as it exists today.
Cheryl, what's your thought?
I just know it was put in there to provide a better turning radius for boats. You're doubling your ramps. And you got more vehicles that are gonna be backing, coming around there and backing down, so.
Heidi,
You do what
thoughts?
you want.
It won't hurt to get a price, right?
You're still gonna have to get a price one way or another, so why not get a price to see if it's feasible to do it now or blow off later? Blow off now and do later.
Ardell?
I
Can't be
feel the
that
same way.
much.
Well, let's get a price on it.
Okay, so we'll leave that as currently proposed.
Can't be that much.
And then, area 3, the parking lot drainage, we've already decided that that is change order number 3. But when I drafted this, I didn't have change order 3 in my hand. And then area 4, the boat wash, which is way down here. And the entrance to the reserve or overflow parking is right in here. We've got a couple of road signs right there that are just outside of the current construction zone. But I would really like to get them removed and have that area blended and probably move those 2 signs to west of where the reserve parking lot is at.
So what signs are we talking about?
So
No parking signs, probably.
one is reserve parking, I think. Can you hang on to that?
Yeah.
That picture L. Yeah, it's the speed limit and slow children at play.
And additional.
And
parking.
additional parking. So there's 3 signs on 2 posts there. Yeah, and it's L. Yep. So I just think we include that little area. And they might have already ripped those signs out because they've been working around them quite.
I'm gonna say
delicately.
they're already gone. If they were in the way, they're gone.
Yeah. The engineering prints of this area right through here. This squiggly line is the tree limit. And as you can see, well, this print doesn't show it real well. There's like a 4 or 5 foot straight embankment proposed. And so Molon had to go in this area, remove, I don't know, another 25 trees or so they could create a slope that was reasonable. And that slope is shown in the picture L. I don't think this will impact the cost one way or the other. Remove them?
I would, we're just gonna have to relocate them when the
Yeah.
road's done
Yeah.
anyway. I mean, it's high, I find it highly unlikely they'd end up staying in that exact same spot anyway.
Yeah, probably not. Okay. Well, we'll see what change order comes next. So what is the motion? Is it to accept change order 3 or just to talk about it?
We did it for discussion, so.
No, there hasn't been any motion yet about change order 3.
Okay, yeah, and I think that's what Heidi just said. So I'll make a motion to accept change order 3 to the project number 842850, which reduces the work scope in the park entrance and dump station roadway area and addresses stormwater sewer runoff in the new parking lot. Net effect, negative $4,343.39.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion. We'll call when ready.
Pop,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Valmuth,
Yes.
Goss, yes, Glenn,
Yes.
Thank you. Hopefully we have some updated drawings. Coming soon. Board comments or discussion?
We did ask for updated drawings in that meeting, did we not?
We did on the 20th, but there's been so many rapid changes revolving around the parking lot.
Is he gonna do sheets or something or overlays or no? So you can
I
see
don't know
the
what they're going
changes?
to do. I doubt it.
Okay.
I doubt it. Public comment here in the Township Hall.
Penny Highmore Bags Road. My concerns are many and my time is short. I must say my overall disappointment in the behavior of some elected, appointed and employed people in Whitewater Township continues to grow. I would hope that when you took your oath, you had the best interest of this community in your mind. However, somehow as the years have passed, your conduct in office has failed the people you had originally set out to help. The Standards of Conduct for Public Officers Employees Act, Public Act 196 of 1973, MCL 15.341, applies to employees and elected or appointed officials of a township and sets forth a basic ethical framework for their conduct. One of the things the act prohibits is representing personal opinions as that of the township. I request that Clerk Goss correct her error. The decision she made single-handedly to place Highmore ZBA interference on the township website is wrong. This was not a board action or decision. I'm asking it be removed and placed in a packet for discussion. What is she afraid of? Is she worried that her targeted anger toward us and my neighbors is unjustified? Is she worried that her behavior of representing her personal opinions as that of the township violates Public Act 196? Are you aware that it is not illegal for a citizen to contact an elected or appointed official in the township? Do the right thing and remove the clerk's personal opinion from the township's website. We are astounded that this board picks and chooses what ordinances they decide to follow. It's called reading. If you have read your ordinances, many of these errors would not have happened. There are obvious trust issues that some board members and the public have in the township attorneys. As taxpayers, we pay the township attorney to fight against us in a case where we have to pay our own attorney. How unjust. I have no confidence in the ZBA or the township board. The treatment of the citizens of this township by the elected and appointed officials is appalling. The attorney and board members need to be replaced, just like the auditor need replaced after too many years of working for us. The people's voices will be heard. For the record, for the third time, I request action against the clerk for her confrontation with me in Township Hall during the August board meeting. I have asked for action in public meetings and no one, not one single person, has reached out to me in concern.
Vicky Beam, Whitewater Township resident, absolutely agree with everything Connie said. Essentially, today, you all voted to have us sue us. Thanks. It was either the Bags Road Partners sue or the Bags Road people sue. So you chose for the Bags Road people to sue. I totally echo what Connie said. You are picking and choosing what ordinances you decide to follow to the T. We'll start watching all of that. And I agree, election can't be soon enough. I do hope Bob Hull has insurance. Actually, a lot of you will be named when we do sue, and we are suing. We've started the process. Cheryl, I am not sure what makes Bags Road Partners better citizens in your mind than Bags Road people. I really don't understand. We have not done anything except for attend meetings and hold you all accountable for what you were elected to do. You have consistently attacked us in meetings. It is apparent that you and the zoning administrator are doing all you can to help Bags Road Partners, and I have the emails and communication to prove it. You don't have time to do your job. You took a lot of things off your plate, but you have time to reach out to offer them assistance. My husband and I built 2 homes in this township. Never once did I receive an email from the zoning administrator or the clerk offering any assistance, but there are many emails that have come from them to Bags Road Partners. So again, Bags Road Partners are better township residents than Bags Road people. Believe it or not, they live on, well, no, they won't live on Bags Road. They'll be building and making a lot of money. But thank you guys very much for allowing us to sue us.
Couple of quick procedural things. Will we be getting an official response to our code violation complaint? Will it read something like, the board agrees with your complaint that the land is non-compliant with the land division ordinance? However, we decided to go against the general ordinance and send it to the ZBA, who made an uninformed variance decision. The board then rescinded their decision to follow the development the board then rescinded their decision to follow the township ordinance based on the ZBA decision and allowed a non-compliant parcel of property to be compliant. The attorney's opinion that you quoted is an opinion that's done when the land is originally being divided, not when a parcel of property is already deemed not buildable. Remember the state of the property. The state of the property, and I don't remember who put that in there, is it was not buildable. And that such property definitely is under General Ordinance 26, Section 9. It's like a review in football. What was it called on the field? It was called not buildable. It has to be overturned, and General Ordinance 26, Section 9 does apply. So I don't know who sends me my finalizes the complaint. Will that come from you, Ron, or from the board, or how do we get closure? That's it. Thank you.
Hi, Heidi Malmies. I live on Winnie Lane and I'm a private citizen right now. I'm concerned because the Plan Commission has bylaws, yet the ZBA, even though it says bylaws on the piece of paper, and you think it's the bylaws, apparently they're just supposed to be procedures. So we have procedures, bylaws, policy. What does that mean? So policies and procedures are a set of agreed. Policies and procedures are a set of agreed upon practices that amplify the information contained in your bylaws. Yet, my zoning administrator, Bob Hall, says we don't even have to worry about our bylaws. So the ZBA doesn't have to worry about their bylaws, policies or procedures, but the plan commission does. I don't understand this. That's all I got.
Sorry, let's finish up a few notes. Good morning, Denise. Yep, still morning.
Yes, still good morning to all of you and everyone else on Zoom. If we just step back a little bit from in this discussion, part of it is the agricultural district and the agricultural zoning, which are two different things, but very close. So in the district, you're supposed to have an ag district to preserve farmland and the use of land for farming purposes in the township. However, somewhere someone decided Ag 1 would be a good zoning decision, 1 acre parcels in ag. You might as well have just put in R1. You totally deleted the possibility of preserving farmland in an ag district with an Ag 1 zoning. You should just change it to R1 and say exactly what your plans are, that you want high density residential area in that total ag district north of M72, primarily west of Elk Lake Road. That's all supposed to be 1 acre homes. So you couldn't find the definition of ag district in the general ordinances because it's really non-existent. That's why we couldn't find it. Thank you.
Anyone else on Zoom wishing to make a public comment? Oh. Hello, Derek.
Thanks, Ron. Just on behalf of Ryan and I, we appreciate you giving us a voice within the structure of the meeting. Again, obviously, that's not an easy decision to come to as we listened in, obviously today, but, again, we appreciate you giving us a voice. We are taxpayers in the township, just like everybody else. And, we just appreciate the time, whether you voted for or against us. Your job is definitely not easy. On both sides, right? And so I can understand like how stressful that it is for you guys to have to make the decisions that you make and vote a certain way. And again, I appreciate all of your time and attention to this one way or the other. So thanks again.
Anyone else on Zoom? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Ready.
Thomas,
Yes.
Doss, yes, Glenn? Yes. Bennett? Yes. Pop?
Yes. 11:50.